I stood in the living room, silently watching my family laugh and chat as if nothing was wrong. The warm light from the fireplace cast a glow on the family photos hanging on the wall, photos that now felt like lies to me. They had no idea I'd uncovered their betrayal. They'd forged my signature to sell the house and used the money to pay off Ethan's debts. In my hand, I held the proof, legal documents, and an undeniable recording. I would expose them all, but not yet. One calculated move, and their perfect facade would shatter. What I was about to reveal would leave them stunned and change my life forever. My name is Sarah Thompson, a 28-year-old accountant living in Portland, Oregon. People call me strong and independent, but they don't see the loneliness I've carried for years. I grew up in a family that seemed perfect. My dad was a respected high school principal, my mom a part-time librarian who volunteered at church, and my older brother Ethan was the golden boy everyone adored. But behind closed doors, it was different. Dad's words were sharp, always masked as, "for your own good." Mom was distant, her affection reserved for Ethan, and Ethan, he was selfish, entitled, never treating me like a sister. I learned early to stay quiet. Speaking up only brought cold stares or guilt trips. "Sarah, why do you always make everything about you?" Though we lived under the same roof, I always felt like an outsider. Family dinners were a performance, with Ethan commanding all the attention, while my parents hung on his every word. My achievements earned polite nods, while Ethan's were celebrated with enthusiasm. I told myself it was because he was older or needed more attention, but deep down, I knew something was off, something I couldn't name. The house we lived in, a tidy suburban home with a manicured lawn and an American flag on the porch, was in my name, a gift from my parents when I turned 18. "It's your safety net, Sarah," they said. I believed them, until it all fell apart. One gray afternoon, I got a call from the bank. "Ms. Thompson, the house in your name has been used as collateral for a $200,000 loan. You're at risk of foreclosure if the debt isn't paid." My heart stopped. Collateral? I'd never signed anything. I raced to my parents' house where Ethan was sprawled on the couch, Dad avoiding my eyes, and Mom busying herself in the kitchen. I demanded answers. Ethan exploded. "Don't make a scene, Sarah. I needed the money to clear my gambling debts, or I was done for." They'd forged my signature, sold my house, and used the money to save him. I felt the ground vanish beneath me. The house was my only asset, my security, and they took it without a second thought. "How could you do this to me?" I shouted, tears stinging my eyes. Mom's face was like stone. "You're being selfish, Sarah." "If Ethan spirals because of this, could you live with yourself?" Dad added. "You're his sister. You sacrifice for family." I stood there, choking on my words. They'd stolen my future and blamed me for being upset. I left the house in a daze, my mind reeling. How could they betray me like this? Worse, how could they justify it so easily? I drove back to my apartment, the rain blurring my vision as much as my tears. That night, I sat alone, staring out the window, trying to make sense of it all. A few weeks later, my Aunt Karen, Mom's sister, came to me, trembling with guilt. She revealed they'd planned it for months, sacrificing me to protect the family's reputation. "Sarah's tough. She'll figure it out," they'd said. She handed me copies of the forged documents. I hugged her, tears streaming, but my resolve hardened. I wouldn't scream or make a scene. I'd make them pay, legally. I spent the next few days meticulously gathering evidence. I requested bank statements, dug through old emails, and even found texts between my parents and Ethan discussing the plan. Each piece of evidence was a stab to the heart, but I kept going. I hired a lawyer, Emily Carter, a specialist in property theft cases. She was sharp and determined, exactly who I needed. I also arranged a private meeting with my family, pretending I wanted to make peace. I hid a recorder in my purse, my hands shaking as I pressed record. They showed no remorse. Mom said, "Ethan's the future of this family." Ethan smirked. "What's the big deal? You'll survive without the house." I stayed calm, letting them dig their own grave. Every word they spoke was another nail in their coffin. Sitting there, listening to their callous remarks, I felt like a stranger. These weren't the people who were supposed to love and protect me, but I remained composed, nodding along, asking leading questions to get them to reveal more. By the end of the meeting, I had everything I needed. I sent the evidence, recordings, documents, texts to our extended family with one line: "This is the truth about my family." The fallout was immediate. Relatives called, demanding explanations. Neighbors whispered. My parents panicked, but I ignored their calls. Ethan texted, "You're destroying this family. You'll regret this." I smiled, deleted it, and prepared for court. The legal battle dragged on for months. I stayed silent, letting Emily handle it. Each time I faced my family in court, Dad's eyes burned with anger, Mom cried for show, and Ethan avoided my gaze. The evidence spoke for me. The courtroom was an emotional battleground. Their lawyer tried to paint me as a vengeful daughter, but Emily countered with cold, hard facts. The judge's stern face gave nothing away, and waiting for the verdict was agonizing. When it came, I felt both relief and sorrow. My family was ordered to repay the full value of the house, plus interest and legal fees. Ethan faced penalties for forgery. Their reputation was in tatters. Everyone looked at me, waiting. I stood and said, "I called you family once, but you never deserved it." The room fell silent as I walked out. A few days later, Aunt Karen gave me an old envelope. Adoption papers from 28 years ago. I wasn't their biological daughter. They'd adopted me not out of love, but to complete the family image after Mom couldn't have more children. Now, their coldness and favoritism made sense. I was always expendable. I sat with the faded papers, feeling hollow, knowing I was adopted as the final piece of their perfect picture. It explained everything: the distance, the favoritism, the ease with which they sacrificed me. I wasn't their blood, so to them, I was disposable. It hurt, but it also freed me. I didn't have to wonder anymore why I wasn't enough. It was never about me. I won the lawsuit, but there was no joy, only regret for the family I'd longed for. I moved to a small downtown apartment, telling myself I didn't need them. Each morning, I brew coffee, watch the city wake up, and remind myself, I'll build a new life. One where I can be myself without silencing my pain. In my new apartment, I found a peace I hadn't known before. The bustle of the city was a balm to the quiet of my old life. I started therapy, journaling, even took up painting, something I'd always wanted but never had time for. Slowly, I was healing, learning to love myself in ways my family never did. Looking back, I wonder if things could have been different, if I'd spoken up sooner, if I'd fought harder for their love. But now I know you can't force people to care. Family isn't always blood, and sometimes the people who should love you most are the ones who hurt you deepest. But I've found strength in my solitude, and I'll keep moving forward one step at a time. This isn't a story of triumphant revenge. It's about a woman learning to stand tall with a broken heart and the ache of realizing sometimes family isn't where you belong.